Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chintan Bhuva. Before I start, I will join you in just 1 minute. I want to start with a short story. Well, not story, a news incident that happened way back in March. Some of you might have read about it, some of you might not. So I'll give you context over here. This happened with a company that's based in London and they have offices around the world, a multinational company. One of their finance offices is in Hong Kong. Now, the CFO, all senior finance executives work out of the London office, and they have some middle management that work out of the Hong Kong office. On one particular day, one of the colleagues in the Hong Kong office from the finance team gets an email from the CFO's personal email ID saying you need to wire $25 million immediately to this particular account. So the Hong Kong colleague obviously questions, debates, and challenges and saying, wait, no. So the CFO says, listen, I'm on a holiday right now, which is why I'm sending you an email from my personal mailbox. Let me send you a Zoom link, join this call and we'll discuss more. And he joins the Zoom link and there are 4 or 5 other colleagues, all senior executives, all based in London. They're all there on video and they all kind of pitch him. They kind of convince him on why you must wire this money. He finally agrees, sends the money, and then turns out none of those people on this call were real. All of them were AI generated deep fakes, mimicking the CFOs and all other senior executives, which I think is a great segue to talk about what we are going to talk about: financial resilience, building a dynamic cybersecurity perspectives to safeguard our banks. So firstly, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for doing this with us. I think we can start right off with you. The entire day we've spoken about how BFSI as a sector has been evolving. We've had so many discussions about it and it's quite evident. What I'm curious about is how is the cyber threat or the cyber landscape evolving with the BFSI sector? In your opinion, what are some challenges that are plaguing the BFSI industry right now?
Yeah, thank you, Chintan. So first of all, if we think about BFSI, we think about reputation, brand, because people trust us. In financial services, trust is the only, you can say, asset that is built by the organization. So people trust you and they keep deposits, they take a loan from you or, do any financial transactions. So reputation plays a very vital role. So if your brand is damaged due to any incident of data breach or anything, you have lost your business. And it takes a lot of time to build trust and it takes fraction of time to, lose your customers' trust. We talk about cybersecurity threats that is there in the financial services. It has evolved. Now from external threats, insider threats has also evolved. Supply chain risk has evolved. We must have, faced or somebody would have faced recent CrowdStrike event. What happened? It was just a supply chain risk and, most of the organization could not control it because nothing was in the organization's hand. Mostly, all the people keep the O2 update on and the system went crashed. So what we learned from that incident, it's all about supply chain risk. How much secure we are also depends upon the third party from whom we are taking services. In financial services, typically we do a lot of outsourcing. In terms of IT outsourcing, now if you see the regulator, it is very heavily coming. They have released a circular in October 2023, and also earlier also on IT outsourcing. Why? Because IT outsourcing plays a vital role because you are not only sharing your customers' data, but also sharing a lot of platforms. In insider threats, you trust employees and give them accesses. But when the employee gets disgruntled or, he's compromised, then he can get inside the system easily because we put a lot of, locks for the external threats. We keep, endpoint security, we got WAF, DDoS, everything is in place. That is to protect from external threats. We put a lot of controls. Now even the attacker knows that, to get inside the organization is very difficult. So they use the social engineering to get inside in the system and leverage the privileges that is given to the employee and, get inside the systems. So still phishing, social engineering is still the risk that is, whatever technology has come, but this human is the weakest link that we always talk about, still persists. And that is one of the key risks that is still there.
No, I completely agree. And I'm so glad you touched upon about insider threat because I feel that is usually a little less given prioritized when it comes. We have very sophisticated technologies to protect our systems from external threat factors, but we usually deprioritize internal threat attacks, and we don't have a strong DLP policy in place, which could lead to data breaches and data leaks. So thank you so much for that. Just going to change gears and move on to you, Dhiraj. When you're coming up with cyber risk management strategies, how are you able to then balance what is proactive defense measures versus, say, reactive capabilities?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody is awake. Okay. Yeah, post-lunch. This being a post-lunch session, just wanted to ensure that everybody is awake and listening. So thank you, Chintan, for that question. And I believe I'll like to continue what the gentleman has said, about the various aspects to this, about the proactive and reactive, but you can go on and on. It's a never-ending topic. Yeah, but just to focus and give you, few examples with the proactive and reactive. So in proactive, I believe most of the CISOs and all the other information security practitioners do follow an information security program, right? You have various assessments going on. You do threat intelligence for your SIM. You do, the awareness sessions for your users, just to ensure that they are, aware about the various attacks that are happening on them as an employee, which in turn, can compromise the organization. So all these things you keep on doing as a proactive measures, right? And there are many more to it. I'm just picking few examples. So let's take about the user awareness. So you asked user, that these are the phishing. These are the way you identify phishing. And whenever you do a phishing simulation, you still get good results. I mean, good from the CISO perspective, bad from the organization. But you still get those results, right? So you know that these are the potential users who may click on the links wherein their credentials may get compromised, right? Now, coming back to the reactive approach, what we can do in order to prevent, assuming that our employees may get compromised. So then we try and introduce controls like, you introduce MFA, so that even their credentials are compromised, there's something they have, kind of MFA with which they can validate themselves. That way we are sure that it is an employee who's logging, nobody else. Yeah. So this is one. Second is that you do various assessment on your application. It goes live. You follow CI/CD pipeline, DevSecOps, everything, right? Still tomorrow, some developer, opens something on a GitHub. It has some keys, and still you're exposed. Even after doing all these, cycles and chains and various tools and technology implementation, still human error. That's the reason I'm saying disgruntled employee or intentional, unintentional, whatever it could be. But I'm just still, there is a possibility, right? Now in terms of reactive approach, what you can do is basically you have some monitoring tools like ASM, Attack Surface Management. That is the reason this kind of solutions are getting picked up or getting, on the trend, on the rise. So you identify such tools by doing a continuous scanning of your entire perimeter infra and, identifying these things, and then say, okay, these are some exposed credentials or API keys or probably endpoints through which data can be leaked. So I'm saying you have to do proactive. You can't stop doing a proactive, but at the same time, you are also focused on being reactive and trying, strike a balance between both. So that's how, at least if I'm in my personal capacity, I'm trying to do it for my organization. I believe more or less everybody is following the same approach.
Yeah, wonderful. And I completely agree. A multi-pronged attack, which also covers both proactive and reactive, is of the essence. So I'm going to piggyback on top of what you said, and I'll move on to you, Vivek. Now, let's say, despite some of our best defenses, for whatever reason, the attacker was successful, was either more sophisticated or there was lack of awareness within some of our colleagues. Let's say an incident has happened, a cyber incident of whatever material and nature. According to you, when you're developing or designing an incident response plan, what are some key components that you need to keep in mind which will guarantee the quickest recovery back to action for an organization in BFSI?
So first of all, thank you for inviting me. Okay. So now every organization has incident response plan. What POSA? felt that the weakest change is human. Every organization has incident response plan, but the people who has to act on that, they are not aware what is their role and responsibility. The first thing, you have to define your incident plan with the things to what you are going to achieve. You have to clearly define the security threat, what kind of threats are there, what is their classification, what is their severity. Then comes on people. Who are the people who is going to part of this response team? What is their roles and responsibility? Whether they are aware what to do in what sense. You have to define your communication protocol also. Who is responsible for internal communication? Who is responsible for external communication? What to say to media? What to say to management? What to say to users? Because the thing is that if you don't define these kind of things, the IT team who is doing the recovery, they are under pressure. Everybody asks questions, what happened? If any news going outside the organizations is a reputation, then you have to define a complete procedure in case something goes wrong. If this kind of attacks are there, what need to achieve? Because sometimes some ideas, like take examples, if there is a ransomware attack, should I unplug the network cable? Should I shut down my firewall? Should I shut down my web? Or what kind of ransomware? People do all the log analysis, but sometimes people forget to read the notepad file where the ransomware has taken the credibility. Okay. So these kind of procedure, what need to check, by whom need to check, they need to define your plan. Second, third thing, you have to test your plan also. Whatever persons are responsible or part of response team, you have to do some kind of tabletop exercise so that they are aware what to do in which situation. Do not panic. What is defined for you, do the same thing. Create a plan. If something goes wrong, what is the recovery plan? Okay. Who will work on recovery? Who will work on communications? Then goes, if you done all the recoveries, then what was done wrong? Do a post-recovery RC things. And the major part is that you have to keep your plan update. Every quarter or 6 months, you have to do plan update. What is going in the market, you have to update the plan and do a testing again.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that the biggest challenge with an incident when it happens is people don't know whom to reach out to, or they don't know what their role is in the larger scheme of things, right? Which is why I think it's absolutely necessary for organizations to conduct some table topic exercises and to ensure that the RACI has been charted out very well. Otherwise, an incident can be very chaotic for an organization's mental capacity and problem solving abilities, which is why at that time, the better prepared we are, the more I'm sure we can catch things in advance. So one of the things that happens during an incident, let's say there has been a successful cyber incident, we have fallen for an attack, we might have lost some money. Now there are a chain of events that usually happen, but one of the scariest things for me personally is the regulation part, dealing with regulatory authorities. Because they are strict right now and for a good purpose, they're trying to keep everyone vigilant and cognizant of the landscape. But it also makes me think that especially BFSI, which is in general such a targeted industry, in your opinion, are there any gaps when it comes to cybersecurity regulations in the BFSI industry? Something that needs to improve?
Good afternoon, everyone. See, as far as banking is concerned, banks are strictly monitored by the RBI. One of the stringent rules are defined. See, every bank is having their own parameters. But when you come to the cooperative sector, it's altogether different. See, as my co-panelist said, reputation is important. Right? For us, it is more than anybody else. Because even a single intrusion, a single impact, that will completely destroy the bank. I'm witness to some of the large things which happened in cooperative bank. There was 1 kilometer line was there behind the branch. I'm witness to that. So reputation is more important for the cooperative bank than anybody else. By public sector, theek hai, thoda bahut hota hai, that's okay. That is one of the major area which cooperative banks are. See, what is happening, one of the two things if you see, what happened to PMC Bank, again the reputation lost to the entire sector. Then you look at Cosmos Bank, again largest attack on India in any financial sector. So these things are more important for the cooperative banks. When you come to regulator is already very strict. Only thing is that how bank follows, that is more important. They already set up a cybersecurity framework. It is defined by the RBI. You have to follow all the regularly. They are sending alerts, advisories. They are sending. There are so many master directions they are issuing on DPAC you talk about or any other. They keep on doing it. But this is bank who has to do it. Now, when you come to bank, like me as a cooperative bank, how many people I have? Or rather, how many people I am going to get in the cybersecurity arena? We don't get. Because the kind of thing which is happening in the cooperative bank, people are not ready to come. Firstly. Secondly, the kind of infrastructure cooperative banks are having, or the kind of infrastructure public sector banks or other banks are having, it's a huge difference. So these things are there. That is definitely is one of the areas. When you talk about gap, what gaps between these two? See, I'll give you one simple example. Recently, everybody knows there was a big headline, the 200 banks not working. But whose fault it is? Is it cooperative bank's fault? The service provider who was offering the services to the cooperative bank, he was not able to protect his infrastructure. Because of that, 200 banks were not able to do the transaction. Isn't it? This is not cooperative banks. This is the person who is offering the services. He has to do his activity properly. And some of the big names like TCS, SBI, CH was the company who was providing. See, what is happening, as I discussed in the earlier, cooperative banks doesn't have much infrastructure. They are more dependent on third party. They share the resources from third party. They share the payment system from third party. They share the data center from third party because they don't have people to manage all those things. In that scenario, when you're sharing, ultimately the onus is lying on the other party. Now, in this scenario, what happened? The RBI has to step in. Right? RBI tells me that Bharat Bank ne ye nahi kiya hai. It's not like that. You're telling me because you are my regulator. I'm 100% agree on that. But when it comes to CH or some other company, why you're not regulating them? Because of them, 200 banks were down, so you have to regulate them also. Whoever offering financial services to the banking sector, they must be regulated. There's a stringent rule for the banking sector. But what about those people who are dependent? Because cooperative banks are more dependent on other people. So those things are there. Definitely, a regulator has to step in. Regulator has to monitor those people who are offering financial services, particularly in the data center or payment system. Those people there are some guidelines issued by RBI. It's not that they're not, but it has to be stringent. That is one area I would. Thank you.
No, thank you. And it's like this, right? And again, this is my personal opinion, so please. But I've noticed that sometimes when it comes to regulations, it's like either they're not strict enough, or sometimes they're so strict that it feels like, what kind of a rule is this? This doesn't make sense. I think there is a need right now for an overview and at least to balance regulations so that not only does it help protecting us, our data, our information, our money, our customers, but it also enables banks or the BFSI industry organizations to perform at pace. So thank you for your answer. Yeah.
In India today, one of the main need from a regulatory space is unification. Yeah. The problem today is each regulator is talking in his own language. Yeah. Like a bank, a sizable bank which is dealing in say securities and insurance products, etc., has to deal with RBI, SEBI, IRDI, certain NCIPC, etc., etc., and each one talks different language. Yeah. And so it becomes a very difficult thing to identify what to follow.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. Seriously, one unified policy that will be applicable, because eventually, although there might be different flavors of security, protection principles will remain the same,
Especially when you are dealing with an incident. Each one says you report to me within 2 to 6 hours. Yeah. And nobody has a common portal. Yeah. Each portal you need a maker and checker. Yeah. And they'll say one person here cannot do the same thing. And the CISO will keep reporting or will handle the incident.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you report.
Just like to add one point here. So, I mean, just to answer this query, I mean, all the regulators are first of all, catering to various, business or the verticals of our financial sector. So that is the reason you have various verticals, because RBI has to be more stringent to the banks because they're handling more money and the end users money, and IRD and others also have different regulations because of the nature of the business. Now coming back to Bhaskar's point, I believe what he said is very right. About RBI or any other regulator, they have to come up with a framework wherein they understand that there is a too much of dependency. For that matter, the likes of Microsoft, Google, and anybody for that matter, they should have some regulations in India on them when they understand that there's a too much of dependency of a particular OEM across the BFSI industry.
Right.
I believe that's something that regulator has to look up.
Yeah. No, fantastic answers. And it just feels good to know that a lot of people think the same way as well, because all right, I'd like to shift gears again, and Gaurav, I would like to come to you now. So can you help me understand the role of, let's say, human-centric approach when in technology, especially cybersecurity, where how can you integrate consumer protection with when you're designing, let's say, financial services for an end user, or sorry, financial products for an end user?
Okay, thanks for the question, and good afternoon, everyone. So there are two parts of this question. One is about the human-centric approach. So when we talk about the cyber security, it has to be intensively human-centric, despite whatever technology and tools we are using in our ecosystem. And when we say, normally we call like people, process, and technology, people are the weakest link, which is no doubt is the case. And most of the incident starts from that element in any organization. But at the same time, people segment is the strongest defender as well. So it's both ways. So we need to see as being a responsible person for the cybersecurity in the organization, both aspects. Like one aspect, our normal users, we need to make sure that they are aware about the different kind of trends or security threats which are going on day-to-day basis, like through some trainings or some phishing simulations or some kind of awareness methodologies to make them aware that what they are expected to do or what they are expected not to do. And this we need to keep reminding them, because memory is short term, through multiple methods, like whatever you use, starting from basics. You put screensavers, you put your digital displays, you put whatever you can, other than trainings and awareness and certification. That is from the normal user perspective. At the same time, people who are responsible in the organization to ensure security, like a part of cybersecurity team, they have to be well skilled and trained, and this should be a continuous cycle. Probably we have the tools in place, but the person who is operating that tool, he or she should be able to use that tool in an optimum manner, and that is very important to enhance and upgrade their skills. So both ways, and other users of the ecosystem as well. So it's both ways. Like it has to be human centric in terms of awareness or in terms of skill building, so that we can optimally use whatever we have in our ecosystem and try to protect the whole thing. Second part of your question about the integration of the product. So now when I think myself as a user, suppose I'm a user for any kind of financial product or services, what I will evaluate? I will see probably the kind of UI, kind of ease to use or cost associated with that. And security aspect is also in my mind. While first three I can evaluate at my end, like how it looks like, whatever product or services I am planning to avail. So cost and UI and all that, which is up to some extent in my hand to make a decision. But security I want, but I don't have any control on that. Now, being a provider of some product or services, it is my responsibility to ensure that security is taken care at every step, from start to end. And it's a continuous journey. While designing the product or services, this is always a fight in any organization. There are deadlines to launch. Security assessments are not completed. Even if it is completed, whatever observations are coming, they are not totally adhered due to the deadlines and all that. So we need to make sure that security assessments are comprehensive and they are taken care at every step. Whatever it includes, it includes multiple kind of things. So it should not be just for the sake of launch we are doing, and whatever we are using, whatever in terms of software, if we are using, then there are continuous, assessment, their patching, even launching, even post-production, post-launching of the product. So that as a service provider, we need to make sure that we are doing all necessary things in our product, so that, and then data security of the it's very important, like PII data, if we are handling some kind of personal identifiable information, that has to be secure at all channels, at rest or at motion or in transit, whatever. That all we need to make sure, because customer doesn't have any control on that. If I am a consumer of some service, if my data is breached, my Aadhaar or PAN card is being leaked at any stage, then probably nothing worse can be than that. So that all kind of security assessment, security tools, all procedures we have to ensure within while designing and launching any product and services.
Yeah, I really like what you said, that it should be there in every phase of the life cycle. Like, yeah, please.
I'll just add to what Gaurav said. See, now what is happening, even regulator says, if any product you're going to buy, before that a CISO role has to be there at the time of analysis, before you buy, and after you implement it, the CISO approval is required. CISO approval is required both the end, before you buy and after you go live. So CISO role has become so important today. For everything you have to work on, everything it is. Anything or everything CISO has to ratify.
Great. Thank you for pitching in. Bhavik, I'd like to move on to you. AI, artificial intelligence, the buzzword all around, has been a buzzword for quite a few years now. Chat GPT and LLMs and machine learning. We know for a fact that a hacker might use some of this to speed up their work. But I'm also pretty certain that cybersecurity teams can also leverage some of these technologies to help us protect better. What are your thoughts on this? And especially, what's the most effective way to use AI in defense?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So definitely, as you said, so like AI and blockchain has emerged a lot, and they have provided very beneficial for all the organizations at a very good extent in bolstering the defenses. So particularly if we speak about AI, so like the speed at which it analyzes the data and the results that it gives, the humans cannot match its speed and accuracy. It has reduced the turnaround time for all the analysts to a very great extent. It is helping in day-to-day SOC operations for all the analysts, reducing their turnaround time and effectively managing all the alerts and incidents to a very great extent. But we should also see that AI should not be the replacement of the humans. So like it should both go in hand. It should both complement each other. Because if we leave everything on AI, then definitely there can be lots of false positives, nuances, and also everything should complement each other. And yeah, definitely blockchain that you mentioned. So it's also one of the most revolutionary technology that we have seen. It's helping us in securing the transactions. Now the transactions have become more secure, tamper-proof, and very transparent. If also the usage of the blockchain, the organizations can evaluate in various areas like securely storing their data, or also like for identity verification, and also for cross-border transactions. These technologies can be used. And concluding, like AI and blockchain are like very revolutionary, but you should have a comprehensive strategy on how you implement it, and both should go like hand in hand. And you should also have a governance framework for managing everything. So there is no potential damages or anything is there.
Yeah, a governance framework is absolutely mandatory. I think it's not only about how effectively can you use it, but it's also about what are your guiding principles on when you're using it. So a governance framework should at least cover some of these best practices. So I think what we've done essentially today is, so far we've covered each and every component of cybersecurity in the BFSI industry. I think with you, Vijayakumar, I'd like to hit that last 6 and ask you, what are some common mistakes or pitfalls that organizations make when they're developing or designing their security framework, strategies, or policies? And alternatively, or an addendum to that question, what are some best practices that somebody must keep in mind when you're designing such policies or strategies?
It's a topic for 2 days discussion, but we'll just keep it short. In general, what we can see is any organization, they will hire a CISO and say, security is all yours, I don't care. Okay, that's the starting mistake. Nobody participates. From a CISO perspective, also many times what is happening is people focus exclusively on the technology aspect. They forget that security is about people, process, and technology. But if you just keep buying tools, but you don't have people to operate it properly, or you don't even know how to improve that product or how to optimally use that. For example, so many organizations have bought SIM solutions and running it for years together, or DLP solutions. How many people have really gone in and seen the rules? Seen whether it is working correctly, whether what can I do? Is today's environment something needs changes to these rules? Nobody does, because nobody has told them. The product vendors have sold it to them and they are left. So after that, there is nothing like improvisation, etc. And the over reliance on technology probably can take another example. How many of you would have used ChatGPT? Many, right? So have you put this question, how many R's are there in strawberry? It's a latest joke that's going around. Try it out. It says 2. So if you are blindly believing ChatGPT and all this artificial intelligence, etc., without applying your manual intelligence in that, you may make huge mistakes. Okay. So that's certainly one. And the last one that I want to highlight is CISOs operating like they are the only ones who are guarding the whole organization. Unfortunately, because of the regulatory pressures as well, says everything has to be reviewed by CISO. So it's becoming like CISO thinks that I'm the one who's guarding the whole thing and not working collaboratively with the business teams. So what happens is you put in a rule, it impacts the business. They try to work around it. Instead of you collaborating with them and working together and making it a joint exercise, that cybersecurity is not just about the CISO. He's supposed to be the risk guy.
Of course.
It has become more like he's the only one who's guarding the whole security of the company. So that these are things that are impacting the collaboration and people owning security as their own role is something which is important, and that's something that again CISO only has to drive it.
Thank you for that. That was insightful, and I appreciate the depth with which all of you spoke with. I think with the interest of time, I will have to hand it back to the MC. But again, thank you. It was an absolute honor for me to be a part of this. So thank you so much.